Give it a good once-over.
Giving us the once-over.
Giving him the once-over.
Give me a once-over.
Down to give us the once-over.
For a routine once-over.
Once-over. Oh, just
Lucy Does
once-over
Dabbleverse.
lightly.
Dabbleverse does Lucy? Hi, guys. Welcome. I'm very excited. We got another Lucy Does Dabbleverse going on here. I am celebrating the 1-year anniversary of Vince the Lawyer suing Stuttering John, and all we've learned in the last year since then. So we're going to be getting into it all. I'm going to be going through the actual complaint. I know we've kind of talked about this in the last year. Everybody has heard it time and time again, but who doesn't want to hear it at least once more on the anniversary of when it happened? Did you guys remember that this happened on the 3rd of July? Because I absolutely did not. I would feel like 4th of July would be a giant mile marker in, history, and we would remember that this was a thing. But I had no memory that this happened so close to the 4th of July. So first of all, happy 4th of July to everybody who celebrates. Very exciting. I hope everybody has some time off of work and is enjoying beautiful sunshiny weather and summertime fun stuff. But, we're going to get into the nitty gritty. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I did not do a lot of prep work for this. Usually I am a prepper to the extreme, but this is a lawsuit that I am quite familiar with. So let's do a little brief interview of it, Let's do a little brief review of it. And then after we talk about the brief review, we will actually get into reading the summons and complaint that Vince the Lawyer filed against Stuttering John 1 year ago today. So the basis of this lawsuit was that Vince claimed that Stuttering John claimed, good God, this is going to be so annoying. I am sorry in advance. Vince the Lawyer claimed that Stuttering John claimed that Vince the Lawyer got him fired from his teaching job. Now, we all know since then that Stuttering John probably never got fired from his teaching job. Or maybe he did, and everything is a work. That is the problem with content like this, is that it's a work, everything is a work, it's all a work, everybody is doing a work, right? Like, I don't even know how to describe it other than that. I think I will talk a little bit about Vince the Lawyer and a little bit about Stuttering John and who they are as people and what they've kind of done more recently, less recently, I don't know, before we get into it. So Vince, it has always been my opinion that Vince likes to watch. Vince is a watcher. He is a voyeur. He likes to see how people will react to things, and he is interested in that. He's very, very interested in that. He wants to hear what people are saying about him, but moreover, he wants to see what he can get people to do. And we know this because one of the big ways that Vince kind of made a name for himself was sending John care packages. He would send him food, he would send him beer, and he would interrupt John's live streams so that John had to get up and go get a package. He loved watching John interact with whatever he was doing. Vince wanted to see John take action because Vince took an action. And that, I think, gives you a good idea of who Vince is and what his objective is. His objective is to take an action and be able to watch how that impacts people. Now, John and Vince obviously had a relationship before all this Dabbleverse stuff started, but they really became friends for quite some time and then enemies. And I want to say now friends again. I think it's possible that Vince is behind a lot of the recent legal stuff that John has been involved in. For example, I think it's possible that Vince was behind John's retaining of this lawyer, Tabor Benedict. Tabor, I don't know how to say his name. I don't know how to say his name at all. I think it's possible that Vince was behind that or at least suggested it. I think there's a couple of other theories that could go along with that, but we're not going to get into that so much today. We're going to be sticking to what happened a year ago. I see here in the chat we have Hunter Duke, who is commenting about my shirt. I would love to shout out this beautiful shirt that was gifted to me by Hunter Duke and designed by, I can't remember his handle, and I don't want to dox him. Hunter Duke, who designed these lovely, lovely Lucy Tightbox images here that I have on my shirt. These are so beautiful. It's me riding a popsicle, because I do popsicle reviews on my Patreon, and me covered in film strip. I can't even show it because I'm very, very bad at things. And then I got some Once Over with Kaylee logos over here, all the exciting stuff. So thank you, Hunter Duke, for the shirt. And Muda, yes, Muda designed all of these little images that are on the shirt, and I love this shirt so much. It's absolutely amazing. So let's get into it. Are you guys ready? I feel like we haven't talked about this lawsuit in so long, and I have a couple of theories and opinions on it that I think you guys have not heard me say before. I really haven't talked about this lawsuit very much. One of the things that I actually really wanted to pull, and I stupidly did not pull before I came onto the show, was that on the day that the lawsuit was served, I actually joined, oh my God, now I'm forgetting everybody's names about everything. Let's skip over that and I'll come back to that point because I didn't take notes. Let's go ahead and get into the lawsuit itself. So, all right, this is our lawsuit right here. So I am not an attorney. However, I do work at a law firm, so I am familiar with documents like this. So I'm going to kind of go through with you a couple of the things that I see in this document. So you can see here up at the top that this was filed in New York County on 7/3/2024 at 12:24 p.m. Wonderful little afternoon filing. And there's an index number assigned to it, which means that it was filed. It was filed electronically through a service called NICEF. This is a New York courts filing system. It is very standard for all New York filing stuff. And what we can see also in this caption up here is that this was filed again. It was filed in the county of New York, and it is a lawsuit where Vincent Imbezi is the plaintiff and John Melendez is the defendant. The first document that we can see here is what is called the summons. Now, you will notice that I blacked out John Melendez's address here. This is public record. However, I still don't feel right showing it on my channel, so I have blacked it out. However, it's public record. You can go look at it if you want to on the NICEF filing website. This is all absolutely 100% available publicly. Now, what is a summons? So a summons is a document that is provided to defendants in a lawsuit. So in this lawsuit, John is the defendant. And the summons is going to be telling the defendant that they have the right to answer the complaint. The complaint is where all of the allegations are. So the complaint is going to be where the nitty-gritty, all of the stuff that Vince is claiming against John, that's going to be where all that stuff is. What we're getting in the summons is that John now has the right to answer the summons and complaint. What we now know a year later is that he never answered. In fact, nothing ever happened with this lawsuit. And in my opinion, it was very much, I don't know if it was a work, but it was certainly, I don't think that Vince intended to take it any further than he did. And I'll get into why I think that is. I've mentioned a couple of other times on previous podcasts that I've kind of joined on that I am very suspicious that there was no filing of what is called a request for judicial intervention. So we're going to talk about what that request for judicial intervention is and why I think it's so suspicious that one was not filed in this case. So again, the summons is very, very boring. It is literally just, okay, we're looking at this document and it is exactly what it is. And John has the right to respond to all of the allegations that are in the complaint. The next thing that we're going to get into here is actually the complaint itself. So you can see up at the top, we have the caption is going to get repeated. Tons and tons and tons of stuff is going to get repeated. One of the first things that I noticed when I saw this for the first time was, holy cow, jury trial demanded. Do you guys see that up here in this top right-hand corner? This is not jury trial stuff. So when you can demand a jury trial for anything, you can get a parking ticket and say, I want a jury trial. You're probably not going to get it, but you can say that you want it. The fact that Vince was demanding a jury trial was insane. And again, that goes along with my theory. He likes to watch. He wanted to see all of this go down more than he actually cared about this lawsuit. Now, we all know that this lawsuit, what Vince is asking for in this lawsuit, is $12.5 million, which is an insane number. Who asks for $12.5 million in a lawsuit against Stuttering John Melendez, who shortly after this was filed almost, offed his cats by driving them across the country? He has no reason. He has no reasonable reason to sue for $12.5 million. But what I will say and what I will give Vince credit for is that when you are filing a lawsuit, you never want to ask for too little money, because you don't get a second bite at the apple when you're filing a lawsuit. So if I forgot to say something in my lawsuit, if I forgot to say, hey, I also feel like this, and this also happened, or I want this amount of money because of this, you don't get to go back and say, oops, I forgot to include this information. You get one chance. So the fact that Vince was requesting $12.5 million, even though it is a shocking number, I was like, okay, it's not that crazy, because he has to say the biggest amount possible, right? That's what he's got to do. It's still completely stupid. Who thinks that $12.5 million is a reasonable amount of money to ask Stuttering John Melendez for? Nobody. And I'm going to take a peek at some of these chats here. I do see that Graverly Diggs is saying over here, Vince is the puppet master of stupid. I will agree that I think that Vince oftentimes is a puppet master. He certainly likes to influence things. Influence things is how I want to say it. And I think he admits to that. I've seen him admit to that a couple of different times. So I don't know that he's, I don't know that he's like ashamed of that. I think he's kind of proud of it. I think he likes the fact that he is doing what he wants to do and people are enjoying watching all the stuff. Like, it's very weird. Hellraiser69 says Vince the voyeur. Yes, absolutely. Vince the voyeur to the extreme. He loves to watch. He loves to watch. I cannot say enough that I think that so much of what he does is trying to get other people to see what he is doing. So I made a lot of comments previously. Let's talk about another lawsuit. There's been this recent claim of Stuttering John suing Carl and Shuli over Dabble House and all of that stuff. And my theory on that was always that if Vince is involved in that in any way, if Vince is somehow pulling the strings, if he's somehow puppet mastering all that stuff, that the only way that that lawsuit is going to get filed is if everybody can get served at a live event. Because Vince wants to watch everybody get served. He wants to watch all of us get served and then all of us talk about it at a live event. Raper Butt is here in the chat. Thank you so much for the $5. And he says, that's when everyone typed 12.5 into John's chat and SJ pretended that he didn't know what it meant. Yes, that is absolutely true. Also, I need to give a huge shout out to Raper Butt. Greatly appreciated. He was helping me bounce some memories off of what happened in this court case earlier today. So greatly appreciate you for all of your help today. Bone CK, $5. Thank you so very much. Vince and Chad are both virgins. I don't think that those are the only virgins in the Dabbleverse, actually. If they are. Somebody recently said that Harrison Young is a virgin, which I guess makes sense. I just had no idea. Like, I don't think about people that way, I guess. They are there's something deficient is maybe the wrong word, but something is a little off with all of these humans, right? It's a little off. It's a little bit off. Okay, so the crux of this lawsuit was Vince claims that John went online and defamed him. This is a defamation lawsuit. That is what we were talking about here. And I'm going to be honest with you. I wore my best glasses today. Oh, I see that Bone CK is clarifying virgins of the mind. Yes, yes, sir, yes. But also probably Harrison Young for that. I am going to actually pull up this lawsuit on my phone because even though I am wearing my best glasses that help me see the words, I cannot read any of those words over there. So I'm going to go ahead and read some of this off from my phone. So apologies that I'm going like this now. This is what I look like now. Okay, so first of all, we have plaintiff Vincent Imbezi files this complaint against John Melendez upon personal knowledge as to his own acts and events taking place in his presence and upon information and belief as to all other matters. That is a very standard way to start a lawsuit. That is what we say when we start a lawsuit. Pretty much every single complaint, which again, this is going to be the allegations, the nitty gritty, the meat and potatoes of the lawsuit. That is pretty much how every single lawsuit starts. This is now going to be the preliminary statement. So Vince's law firm actually did file this lawsuit, but Vince decided not to file it on his own behalf. Instead, what he did was he had his partner file this lawsuit. So this was actually all filed by one of the partners at Imbezi Law. So let's get into the preliminary statement because this is going to be the crux of the argument. This is where we are winning our whole thing. We got it, right? It's going to be great. On March 2nd, 2024, Melendez published the following statement about Mr. Imbezi on the social platform X. And the tweet reads, John Melendez, he is saying this, March 2nd. If Vince, as everyone knows it now is, oh boy, that's a sloppy sentence. John and your grammar, come on, buddy. If Vince, as everyone knows now is, Muttering Jay, thanks to Lady K and Shitwayer, then Vince got me fired from my job. I'm going to interpret that because it's so dang sloppy. What he's trying to say is, Vince is Muttering Jay. And we'll get into if that's accurate or not, too, in a second here. This has cost me, John continues, this has cost me emotional hardship and hundreds of thousands of dollars. Nobody should ever use Imbezi Law again because he betrays his clients. Now, I'm going to talk about a couple of issues that I have with the statement before we get into Vince's issues with the statement. First of all, what did he say? Hundreds of thousands of dollars as a teacher? Buddy, it did not cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars, even if it was over multiple years. I think we all know that teachers in the United States are very, very underpaid. So unless you were the highest paying teacher in all the land, which I think we can all agree is probably not the case, you weren't making hundreds of thousands of dollars. We have $5 here from Miguel I need better glasses, you guys. Alvarado. VTL is acting like a puppet master when he should have Jeff Dunham's hand up his rear. Yes, he should. He is. Is he a puppet? Is he? I don't know. I think he's just a super fan. I think Vince is a super fan. I do. I really do. And Raper Butt is jumping in again. Seeing the words Lady K and Shitwayer in a complaint is very funny to me. I completely agree. Now remember, this is supposed to go in front of a judge. That is what we are supposed to be doing here. We are taking this to a judge. And we can't call them Carl and Shuli. We have to call them Lady K and Shitwayer. Now I understand that this is a screenshot quoting the infamous Stuttering John, but still, it's a goofy lawsuit, and it was a goofy lawsuit to begin with. All right, so Vince continues in his lawsuit. Everything Melendez wrote in the above statements about Mr. Imbezi is false. Again, I would agree with the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Let's see what Vince has to say. First, Melendez was never fired from the job he referenced. Second, Mr. Mbezi does not have access or control over the X account at Muttering Jay. Third, Mr. Mbezi never betrayed Melendez by contacting his employer, nor has ever betrayed any of his legal clients. Now, this is another interesting part to this lawsuit for me. I don't actually know. Maybe you guys know, so maybe you guys can correct me if I'm wrong here. Has Vince the lawyer ever been retained by John Melendez? That is going to play an interesting factor into this lawsuit, because throughout this lawsuit, John is saying he betrays his clients, and Vince very carefully scoots around if John is actually his client. What is an actual retainer? A retainer, at least to my understanding, is that I am paying an attorney to work for me. And when I pay an attorney to work for me, I get something that is called attorney-client confidentiality or attorney-client privilege. That means that I can absolutely talk to that attorney, and I am sharing privileged information with them, which means that they can't share it elsewhere. Now, I might be paying my attorney $1 in order to retain them, but I don't believe that John has ever been retained, or I don't believe that John has ever retained Vince the lawyer, at least not in our Dabbleverse era, possibly in the pre-Dabbleverse days, in the like Howard Stern-ish days. I don't know. Vince the evil lawyer is saying no. So that is, I really just, I don't know. I know that Vince takes lawsuits. His website is weird. Mbezi Law is 2 attorneys. It's him, and then it's the woman who actually filed this complaint that we're looking at right now. And so it's just the 2 attorneys. They're both partners at the law firm. And it seems like they do a lot of like entertainment law and stuff. I don't see a lot of recent filings from them when I look at NICEF. Maybe I'm missing something. That's entirely possible that I am. But I don't know. It's interesting. It's definitely very interesting. Okay. So again, this is Vince's now argument. He is saying none of the things that Stuttering John said in that statement were true. Now we're going to get into some kind of boring stuff here. It says, number 3, Mr. Mbezi is a licensed attorney that practices law in the state of New York. Melendez consulted, not retained, with Mr. Mbezi several times regarding potential legal representation. I don't know. It's very, that language is weird to me. And again, I'm not an attorney, so I don't actually know if you get privilege if you're just consulting. I thought that you had to retain somebody in order to get privilege. The 4th statement here, so these should all be factual statements. Melendez was employed as a substitute teacher for Los Angeles Unified School District. I think that we can all agree that that was true, at least at some point, right? That is, at some point in time, John was employed as a teacher or a substitute teacher or something for the Los Angeles Unified School District. Number 5. The X account Muttering Jay posted a message, copying it to LAUSD, so the Los Angeles Unified School District, with a message Melendez previously posted. The following is Melendez's original message that included a picture with the student, a minor child. So we can see here, do I know how to zoom in on this? Let's find out if I know how to zoom in on this. No, I do not. I don't know how to do anything on this thing. You guys, I'm horrible at technology. Oh boy, I just went forward. Nope. Oh, I just learned something mildly interesting. Okay, we're going to get back into that. So I can't zoom into this image here, but I think that everybody is probably pretty familiar with it, right? This is something that we've all seen. So what the Muttering Jay account posted was, has LAUSD substitute teacher and ex-Howard Stern intern John Melendez lost his mind? And then he quotes a tweet from John. He also says, Muttering Jay also says, I don't think Stuttering John M. should be posting photos of a student on his personal Twitter account. Did he have the parents' permission? And he tags the Los Angeles school districts. Is this allowed? So the post that John posted on his personal Twitter was a photograph, and it says, me and my student who loved my class. This was from curriculum or culmination where I had the pleasure of announcing her name. Now, we all know John very much at this point in time was very, very proud of the fact that he was such a great teacher. And we were all making fun of him at this point in time that he was not a good teacher, right? Everybody was like, this was the point in the Dabbleverse where everybody was saying, oh my God, John is just, geez Louisa, he is a bad teacher and we all hate him and he was being a jerk to everybody. So there was a lot of conversations about that. That was a very, very big thing. We were talking about that all the time. That being said, we never had like actual evidence of him being a bad teacher. I think after this, there was like a student that was maybe in one of his classes that came out. I can't remember the details of that. But this was sort of evidence that he was not necessarily a great guy because he posted an unredacted photograph of one of the students in his class. And that's not great. I think that we can all agree that posting a photograph of a minor child when you don't have permission to do that is probably something that you shouldn't do. I have lots of friends who are parents, and many of them say, I don't want any photographs or videos or anything on social media of my kids. I want them to be able to make the decision if they are going to share that when they get old enough to be able to make that decision. So was John wrong in sharing this photograph? I guess that's sort of the beginning of the crux of the lawsuit. It's not really. It's not. It's a totally defamation lawsuit. Before we get back into the next portion of the lawsuit here, I want to say thank you again to Bone CK. Where were you at the whole time during the steel toe legal shenanigans? My paralegal daydream. Why, thank you so much. I have been talking about them a little bit. I would love to do a bigger segment on steel toe. Actually, I do have something really exciting coming up very, very soon. I will be joining Blind Mike on the Blind Mike project, and he and I are going to be talking all about the H3H3 lawsuit that is happening now, effectively. We are going to be talking on Tuesday night, so that is going to be July 8th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we are going to be breaking down the entire lawsuit. We're going to be looking at it from both sides. It's going to be super duper fun. That lawsuit is insane. I'm going to get sidetracked for a minute right now because I just want to talk a little bit. I'm going to give you a little precursor to the H3H3 lawsuit. So H3H3 is Ethan Klein, basically. And Ethan Klein was like an OG YouTuber, and he has a butt ton of money because of that. And he developed for a very long time a friendship with a guy named Hassan Piker. However, Ethan and Hassan ended up having a big, huge falling out. And the precipice of their big, huge falling out actually related to the Israel-Palestine conflict. The two of them took different sides. And when Hassan was saying some not great things, Ethan ended up turning that into what is referred to as the content nuke. And Ethan created this gigantic content this gigantic content nuke of all of the bad things that Hassan said. Everything. And Ethan then played that video, and a while later, some people also played that video. And the question is, did they transform it? You know, we in the Dabbleverse, we look at clips of things all the time. I'm actually going to be showing some clips pretty soon of Stuttering John. I'm going to be pulling up some Stuttering John clips. We look at clips all the time, and copyright law is really challenging because there is a thing called fair use. Fair use, of course, talks about the transformation of copyrighted property. So the problem with Hassan's friends playing the content nuke on their channels was they really didn't transform it. There were times where they were getting up from their seats for long periods of time. They would get up for 10 minutes and just let the content nuke play on their channels. That is not transformative. And that means that they were playing copyrighted material without permission to do so. They did not own that copyright. Now, this is even more interesting because Ethan actually does own a copyright. Not only does he have it's hard to, a verbatim's the wrong word there. Words are really hard today. He has a default copyright because he's the one who created the material. But in addition to that, he actually got a real copyright on it, which is really, really interesting. And I think that because Ethan filed this lawsuit out of spite, not because he wants money, that he is going to push this lawsuit up and up and up through the court system, and it is probably going to end up at the Supreme Court, and we are going to get some serious changes in law. And if that happens, it will take many years, but it will be really interesting. This is basically our nowadays, this is Metallica versus Napster, the H3H3 lawsuit. That's literally what we are looking at. We are about to change how the internet and social media are used. And that's bonkers to me. Bonkers. I love talking about this legal stuff because, again, I do work at a law firm. I am not an attorney, but I think it's so interesting to look at this stuff. It's interesting, right, you guys? Let's get into the lawsuit that we're actually talking about. I'm going to keep getting distracted because there's just so many interesting things happening in our universe. All right. So in section 6 here, so now we've seen the post that is the big question of this lawsuit. In section 6, we have Melendez publicly claimed that the above post by Muttering Jay resulted in his termination as a teacher from LAUSD. He claimed Mr. Mbezi was the author of the Muttering Jay post that resulted in his termination. I think we still don't know who Muttering Jay is. It's been a year. It's been a year. And we still don't know who Muttering Jay is, right? There have been a lot of theories that maybe it was at one point controlled by Vince the lawyer. I don't know if I believe that. I never saw any evidence to it. But then it was transferred. The ownership of it was transferred. Who knows who Muttering Jay is? We never found that out, right? I'm not, that was never definitively proven, I don't think. If this lawsuit had gone and followed through, if Vince had followed through with this lawsuit, we probably would know who Muttering Jay is. But instead we do not. So we will probably never know unless there's another lawsuit that questions who he is. Thank you so much for the $25, Bone CK. And it says, a reminder that everyone should sign up for Kaylee's Patreon for awesome movie and popsicle reviews and extra bouncing. There is extra bouncing on there right now, as well as reviews for other things that are good. They're good. I would recommend it. Would recommend. Thank you very much for that nice plug and the $25. I appreciate it. All right, number 7 here. Having consulted with Mr. Mbezi about potential legal issues prior to the Muttering Jay post, Melendez falsely claimed Mr. Mbezi betrayed his client, Melendez, by communicating with I can't say the name of this stupid school district, LAUSD, that sounds so stupid, without his consent, with the intent to have Melendez's employment terminated. Now, if that's true, we don't like that. Number 8. Melendez's March 2nd, 2024 post on X that falsely claimed Mr. Mbezi betrays his clients damaged his legal reputation. So again, that is why we are getting this lawsuit, is because Vince is saying I lost money because John's influence has made it so that people are no longer hiring me as an attorney. And I think that we can all agree that John does not have that sort of influence on the world. So $12.5 million is an insane amount to ask for because there is no way that Vince was damaged $12.5 million unless there's a lot of stuff that I don't know about, which I suppose is possible, but I'm going to go ahead and say that that's not a real thing. I'm going to say that that's not real. He was not damaged $12.5 million. No, not going to happen. Absolutely not a real thing. All right, number 8, we have Melendez's March 2nd post on X that falsely claimed Mr. Mbezi betrays his client's damaged his legal reputation. Is that super redundant? Did I already read that one? I don't know. We're doing great here. One day prior to the above referenced X post, Melendez stated on a live broadcast published on YouTube that Vince, Mr. Mbezi, is Muttering Jay. He also stated, for fucking Vince to contact my employer twice, first unsuccessful, second time successful. Now I want to take a look at that clip because even though that quote is pretty accurate, we all know that John did not get words out that nicely. So let's take a peek at what John actually said here.
For fucking Vince to fucking contact my employer twice. First unsuccessful. Second time successful.
I love that he can't say the word successfully. And Vince, again, in the lawsuit, uses the word successful. It's so stupid. Why can't John talk? Also, before I forget to say it, thank you so much to My Lost Interest. The Clippers are amazing. My Lost Interest, this clip is from him. It's so helpful to be able to see these clips of all of the things that are getting referenced. So thank you so much, My Lost Interest. All right, let's continue along here. Okay, so literally nothing happens. I think that we can all agree that that's pretty much how John does everything, right? That's literally the most normal John video of all time. So what Vince quotes is, for fucking Vince to contact my employer twice, first unsuccessful, second time successful. What John actually said was, for fucking Vince to fucking contact my employer twice, first unsuccessful, second time. We almost got the words out. Yes, Bone CK brings up a good point here. He says, words are hard when you're 15 Michelobes deep. Yes, that is right. This was the time of heavy drinking Johnny boy. I can't judge that, though, because I've had nothing to drink and I still can't say words properly. So I am not going to make any commentary about the saying words wrong. I mean, I don't think I'm doing as bad as John, let's be honest. And I'm not doing this every 5 seconds. I can't do skull. I would try to, but I'm the worst. I'm the worst at stuttering John impressions. It's very, very challenging for me. He's hard because he's so gravelly. It hurts my voice. Okay, so where are we here? The success Melendez referred to when he was getting his employment with LAUSD terminated. These statements made by Melendez are false and defamatory and were made without authorization or privilege on March 1st, 2024. On June 12th, 2024, Melendez admitted that he lied about getting terminated from his employment at LAUSD. I'm never going to be able to say that. When Melendez claimed Mr. Mbezi betrayed him, resulting in his job termination, he knew that those statements were false. And of course, we all remember this beautiful clip here. Who could forget John taking a victory lap about the fact that he tricked all of us into believing that he was fired from his school job. This clip is from Stalin 19. Again, thank you so much to the Clippers. You guys freaking rule.
Prove to you once again how I'm 2 steps ahead of you. I was never fired from school.
I don't miss him doing that. You guys, the giggle face, and then the clap. There are times that I'm happy that he's off of the internet.
You guys are such idiots. How stupid are you?
Listen, buddy, we're not that stupid because we didn't get lawsuits filed against us in the amount of $12.5 million. So, again, this victory lap is even more ironic in the wake of the lawsuit, which happened 1 year ago today.
I never stopped working at school. I told you I was fired, so you would stop trying to get me fired. But now I'm done. I'm leaving LA on Friday.
And we all know how he left LA, right? Oh boy, that was a very, very fun time. And both Ultra Liger and Stewie Felt are reminding me here. Yes, let's not forget. He says 2 steps in ahead of you because John literally has no idea how words work at any point in time. I can't believe that I had forgotten about the hilarity that is that. Mike Morse actually has like an entire like quote book. I'm hoping he's making it into a real book. I know he was talking about it. We were reading some of it at Dabble House, but he has like all of the funny, stupid quotes that John has said. Not all of them. I mean, it would be literally impossible, but it's one of the funniest things that I've ever read in my entire life. Like just reading his things like, I'm 2 steps ahead of you.
So it's so entertaining to me that you idiots fucking really believed it. I mean, it's so fucking obvious. Oh, I just want to go on after Brennan.
And I definitely do not miss the stupid elephant blows. Also, we're idiots. I don't understand how we are the idiots. You lie, like, this is what I don't like about certain personality types. When you tell me something, I want to naturally believe you. And some people might say that that means that I am gullible and I'm a crappy person because I'm gullible, or I'm naive, I guess. Maybe not a crappy person, but I'm naive because I'm gullible. I don't want to not believe you. I don't want to think that things are a work. So when you're saying you guys are idiots because you believed me, what stupid dumb dummies, that's not like, you're not winning there. You're not winning.
And you bought it hook, line, and sinker. Nothing happened with me at school. I never got reprimanded. There was no issue. I still have my certification, but I'm going to let it expire because I'm done.
That gloating, smiley face. I don't miss it at all. Also, I know we've been looking at a lot of pictures of John lately as he's been doing his little circuit of whatever the hell he's doing right now, conventions. His hairline really has changed quite a bit in a year, hasn't it? So this video, again, I believe that this is June 2nd, 2024. Let me make sure that that is correct. June 12th. 2024 is when this video is from. So just a little bit over a year ago. That is a very different hairline. And also, you know the little T that he's got in his forehead? Look at how much less he's got the little T. It's so teeny tiny. The little T is almost nothing. It's almost nothing.
But it has been a great ride. 5 years teaching, another pension. You know, it's just so easy to win when I'm dealing with idiots. And they all think they're smart. You got a show full of high school dropouts who actually call me an idiot. Yet all they do is watch me every day.
All right, so I just want to talk about that for a quick second. He says, we're all a whole bunch of high school dropouts that just watch him every day. I am not a high school dropout. I have a degree in math and a degree in economics, and I currently work at a law firm. And I'm doing pretty good and I'm pretty happy. And yes, I do watch John sometimes, and especially a year ago, I watched John sometimes. But as it turns out, I also have a life where I am not completely addicted to watching one person spiral out of control. So yes, I do sometimes watch him, but I also am quite happy and quite healthy and quite educated. Overeducated, some might say. I really, truly am not doing anything with my degrees. Maybe that does make me the dumb one. Who even knows? Couple more super chats here. We have McBean Scottish Fitness. Thank you so much for the $2. VTL is so huge now. My wife loves his videos. Yeah, I have heard that he's actually doing really well, I think, right now, which is awesome. Good for him on that. I never want to wish badly on most people. I don't want to wish badly on people. And so I'm glad that he is succeeding with his LawTube stuff, I think is basically what he's doing. I always forget what exactly the genre is that it's called. I feel like he recently did some Karen Reed stuff and stuff like that. So good for him. I think that's wonderful. And hopefully that means that he's doing a little bit less of practicing law. I don't know. Maybe he should be thanking John. Maybe he should be paying John because, if he hadn't got into all of these fights with John and everything, his life would be very different because that's how quantum physics works, John, which I know because I studied it in college. We have another $5 coming in from Raper Butt. He says, "You guys thought I was fired. Ha! I'm really just presently unemployed." That was my John. It's horrible. I know. Don't judge me, but I did it for Ray. And we have another $25. Thank you so much coming in from Bone CK. Will not let Kaylee make less than this drooling mess per hour. I appreciate you. I think he's probably not making anything per hour now, right? He's going to the conventions. That's what he's doing right now. He's going to conventions and he's paying to be a vendor at them. And he's maybe breaking even, maybe making a little bit of money, but he's going to have to pay taxes on all of that. So, and I don't know how he has health insurance right now. So I assume that's money that's coming out of pocket. And Cameo's probably not doing great for him right now, right? I can't imagine that he's getting a lot of cameos anymore. I know we kind of flooded him for a little bit, but I feel like, that's not happening so much anymore. Hellraiser69 brings up some interesting points here. I just want to bring attention to this one. It says, if John is a college graduate, he should be embarrassed by the way his life has headed. 6 years at film school, and he has nothing to show for it. Now, Hellraiser, I adore you. I don't know that I agree with all of those things. I think many people spend 6 years at film school and have nothing to show for it and are perfectly happy. I think that the problem is that John doesn't seem happy, right? He seems sad and miserable pretty much all of the time. And I don't know that I can support that. Now, there is still quite a bit of question about if John actually graduated from NYU, right? That's still in question. Why do we never get answers to anything? Why does everything have to be a mystery forever? It's been so many years. Can't we just get one dang answer? I just want one dang answer. One. That's all I want. But I also want to go back into this lawsuit and talk more about it. All right, so we already know at this point that Vince is pissed off because John claimed that Vince was Muttering Jay. And John also said that the Muttering Jay account contacted John's substitute teaching job and got him fired. And that was defamatory, and he said horrible things about Vince the lawyer publicly, and this cost Vince the lawyer money. It cost him money. $12.5 million, right? That's how much money Vince the lawyer makes. Well, maybe now if he's doing so great on YouTube. I haven't actually watched any of his recent stuff. I really should. I'm interested. We'll put it that way. I'm glad to hear that your wife liked it. Okay, so we just watched the June 12th, 2024 video where Melendez admits that he is lying. Melendez knowingly made false statements about Mr. Embezi's professional character and ability to conduct his legal profession with malice. His intentional defamatory statements damaged Mr. Embezi's professional legal reputation. If that is true, that is hugely detrimental to an attorney. Attorneys rely entirely on their reputation. In fact, you can get disbarred if you don't have a good reputation. We recently talked a little bit about the other attorney that John recently retained, Tabor Benedict, and his getting disbarred, although he got disbarred for, going to jail for almost killing someone. That was a whole different situation. John doesn't have a great track record with attorneys for some reason or another. I wonder what could possibly be the connecting factor in all of those things. Who could possibly know? Might it be John? Ooh. All right. Melendez's false statements are defamatory per se, and damages are therefore presumed. Mr. Mbezzi's reputation and good standing has been harmed and will continue to be harmed by Melendez's defamatory statements. So that ties right in, actually, to the fact that Vince is doing so well right now. His reputation apparently has not continued to be harmed. Perhaps his reputation as an attorney, but definitely not his big breadwinning reputation, which I believe is his YouTube channel. I think that that's where the majority of his money is coming from, and I think that that's what is a success for him right now. So good for him. And also, that's wrong. We now know 1 year later. Melendez's defamatory statements were malicious, willful, wanton, and with reckless disregard for Mr. Mbezzi's rights. As such, Mr. Mbezzi is entitled to an award of punitive damages. So again, Vince here is saying that the punitive damages for this are basically $12.5 million. Insane. Absolutely not. But in addition to that, he is saying that Stuttering John did this intentionally. And the reason that Stuttering John did it intentionally is because John went live and admitted that he lied about ever getting fired as a substitute teacher. Now, I think that we can all agree, who the heck knows when John is lying? John might have lied about that. If this lawsuit had continued, John might have gone on and said, well, I was lying that time. And he's not a very credible source, so the judge would then have to rule on when John is telling the truth and when he is lying, which is near impossible to do. So I would not have envied this judge in that situation. Now, the next paragraphs are going to get a little bit boring, so I'm going to kind of scoot over them. These are going to be all about the civil practice laws and rules, sections 301 and 302A, and I think also, let's see, 503 is the other one. These sections, what they are doing is they are talking about what is called jurisdiction. Jurisdiction is making sure that you are suing in the correct court and that you are suing the correct people. So this is going to be talking about personal jurisdiction and making sure that we are in the correct venue. The venue in this situation was going to be New York City and New York County courts in particular. And the reason for this is because John was residing at his mother's residence within that county. And in addition to that, because that is where Vince's practice are. Now, this makes sense. And again, this is standard like legalese. The fact that this was included in this lawsuit is exactly what a good attorney would do in order to support their argument and make sure that the court doesn't just dismiss this case on jurisdiction. In other words, say you filed this incorrectly. You can file a lawsuit incorrectly and it can get dismissed for that reason. Typically, when that happens, what you're going to see is that a lawsuit would get dismissed without prejudice, which means that the filer has the opportunity to file a new lawsuit and correct the issues that they had. However, I think that Vince probably did file this within the correct jurisdiction. I'm sorry, Vince's law firm, again, the attorney who actually filed this lawsuit is Vince's partner who also works for Mbezzi Law. Very important distinction. I don't know if that's an important distinction or not. I'm going to be honest with you. Again, despite the fact that I work at a law firm, I am not an attorney and I don't entirely know all of these things. So sometimes I might be talking out of my ass. I don't know. We'll find out. All right, number 16, the parties. This just says Vince is the plaintiff and John is the defendant. Now, this lawsuit was filed. When did John? Okay, John did the drive between LA and New York on Father's Day. That was when he did the drive with the cats. And Father's Day just recently happened, right? Yeah, it happened a couple of weeks ago. So this lawsuit was slightly after that. So one of these statements is defendant John Melendez is an individual who currently resides in the state of New York. That is why we get to say that, because he was living at his mother's house at this time. I think. Right? That makes sense. I just logicked myself into that. I think that that's where we're at. All right, factual allegations. So these should all be facts. There should be no conjecture in any of these statements. Melendez currently resides at his mother's residence located in the state of New York. Now, there's no reason that Vince had to say that. But again, Vince likes to watch. He wanted to just dig into John a little bit there and say, oh, you're living with mama, right? That's a little evil, or at least a little... It was intentional. I will tell you that much. I will tell you that I think that Vince wrote that sentence. I think that he did. I don't think that his partner attorney did. I think that he was very, very happy to be able to say, oh, he lives with mommy. Paragraph 19. Melendez currently earns a living broadcasting on YouTube from his mother's house located in the state of New York. Again, we had to dig that in there again. We had to dig it in. Part of that is because of jurisdiction. We had to make sure that we were in New York. But the other part of that is he lives with mommy and we want to put that in a lawsuit. It's so funny that he lives with mommy and he does YouTube from mommy's house. Now, I don't actually know that this is a factual allegation. This is supposed to be all facts in here. And this says Melendez currently earns a living broadcasting on YouTube. I don't know that that was true at the time that this lawsuit was filed 1 year ago. I never know what John's profession is. I don't think any of us ever know what John's profession is. I don't think that we know what is giving him income. I think that a lot of people have speculated about what is giving him income. And I think that we all saw how much money was coming in super chats around this time period. And we certainly have known about things like the substitute teaching job. We have known about things like the Cameo stuff. But how does he really make his money? I have no idea. He could be at McDonald's every day. And we just don't know. We have no idea. So that's like a challenging statement for me. And it's interesting that even though it is a factual allegation, it's interesting to me that Vince would have put that in there because it says earns a living. It could have just said makes a profit. To me, that would be more of a factual allegation, but he chose not to use that language. And again, maybe there's a legalese reason why we wouldn't say that. I'm not personally aware of it. In paragraph number 20, Mr. Mbezi is a licensed attorney within the state of New York and practices law within the state. He operates a law firm that conducts legal business with an office located in New York County. Again, we all know this. Boring, factual, blah, 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 blah. Mr. Mbezi also works part-time for a production company performing on YouTube. So he is talking here about his YouTube channel, which again, now we all know is doing great. He's doing great. Great job, Vince. Wonderful job. In paragraph 22, YouTube is the largest social media business that publishes videos and texts worldwide on the internet. That I think we can all agree is a factual allegation. Melendez and Mr. Mbezi have performed live and pre-recorded entertainment shows that were published on YouTube. What did they do that was pre-recorded? Do you guys know that? I don't actually remember them ever doing pre-recorded stuff. Did John do pre-recorded stuff on Vince's channel? I don't ever remember them doing pre-recorded stuff. What am I entirely forgetting? I'm going to read on. You guys tell me what I'm being dumb and forgetting entirely. Melendez and Mr. Mbezi first worked together in 2020. Mr. Mbezi assisted Melendez in starting a YouTube channel, and eventually the two performed together publicly. Now, that is also interesting, actually. I earlier was kind of asking the question, is it possible that Vince represented John before the Dabbleverse? In this statement, he's saying they first worked together in 2020. Now, that seems to be insinuating they first worked together on YouTube in 2020. I wonder if that means that they never did work together pre-Dabbleverse eras in any sort of legal capacity. In addition to broadcasting on YouTube, Melendez was employed as a substitute teacher for LAUSD. I'm getting better at saying it. Doing great. Doing absolute great. So Ray says Vince was his co-host, not for long. Vince was John's co-host, but that wasn't pre-recorded, was it? That was all live, wasn't it? I don't ever remember pre-recorded anything. Okay, now Melendez's defamatory statements. Let's get it, buddy. Let's get it. Separate from their respective entertainment jobs, Melendez has sought legal advice from Mr. Mbezi several times in the past 4 years. Again, this is something that I am really, really confused by, because he says he had sought legal advice, but he doesn't say that he was retained. It's weird. It's weird. On June 12th, 2023, the X account Muttering Jay published a message copying the LAUSD with a message Melendez previously posted. Melendez's post included a picture with a minor child. So now we are going to get to look at that lovely picture yet again. Why wouldn't we? And this, of course, is the Muttering Jay Twitter message. So this is going to be exactly where Muttering Jay is saying, hey, LAUSD, this substitute teacher, Stuttering John, ex-Howard Stern intern, Stuttering John, he posted a picture of one of your students, not blurred out, just posted them on his personal Twitter page, which is weird because that's a minor child, should he have done that. The following actions that John took are what Vince is pissed off about. So on March 1st, 2024, defamatory statements made by Melendez on YouTube. On March 1st, 2024, Melendez started a live broadcast published on YouTube that Vince, Mr. Mbezi, is Muttering Jay. And he also stated, for fucking Vince to contact my employer twice, first unsuccessful, second time successful. Now, again, that quote's a little bit off. We already watched the video, so I'll just quote it again. For fucking Vince to fucking contact my employer twice, first and then second time successful. That's closer to how it actually sounded. The success Melendez referred to was getting him terminated from his employment with LAUSD. The statements made by Melendez on the March 1st, 2024 YouTube video, here in March 1st YouTube defamatory statements, are false and defamatory and were viewed by thousands of people, including many located within New York County. What percentage of John's audience do we think is actually located in New York County? And also, how many people do we think actually watched that YouTube video? We can't find out because it's like privated now. I bet it's like, I don't know, how many views was he getting around that time? I want to say it was like maybe in the 5,000s at most. So 5,000 people worldwide. I can only imagine that maybe, I mean, you know, he was infamous within New York City. So maybe let's give him a nice little bump. Let's say 1,000 people in New York City watched that YouTube video. Now, how many of those people would have hired Vince and instead did not hire Vince because of those comments? None. None. If I was planning on hiring an attorney and I lived in New York County, what are the odds I'm going to hire Vince the lawyer? What are the odds that I'm going to hire him? Like, that's next to none. So of those 1,000 people, how many of them needed an attorney? Maybe 10. And how many of those 10 people would have hired Vince if they were hiring an attorney? I think that we can all agree that it's none. It's none. Nobody didn't hire Vince because of this stuff. That's not how this works. That's not how this works at all. Number 30, fundamental to properly engaging in the legal profession is an attorney's ability to retain confidential information and not betray a client's trust. So because John said he is stupid, he's pissed off because, you know, Vince wants to make sure that he has a good reputation in the world. And this is the only thing that would have made his reputation bad. What's the sports lawsuit where the judge was like, you already ruined your reputation, so you already damaged your reputation so much that this person's defamatory statements don't matter at all, and so then the lawsuit got thrown out. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? It was something sports related, and they like The judge literally said in their like order, they were like, nope, it doesn't matter. You already damaged your reputation so much that anything that anybody says about you, they can say whatever they want because you already did it. You absolutely already did it. I am getting the answer to that. I don't know how to say that last name at all. Maybe that's why I never knew. Dykstra? That can't possibly be how you say that last name. How stupid am I? Am I Lenny D? Thank you, Khan, for making it easy for me to read. Dykstra. Am I saying it right? That's a horrible last name. Bingo, I'm saying it right? What a horrible last name. Anyway, this is kind of how I feel about Vince, right? Like, he ruined his reputation in many ways. He ruined his reputation as an attorney in many ways, unrelated to these allegations by John, unrelated to these defamatory comments made by John. But whatever. Number 31, Melendez claimed Mr. Mbezi contacted his employer. Oh, wait, actually, I missed all these things. Thank you again, Bone CK. I really appreciate you. Not sure what's going on, but you look damn good explaining it. Why, thank you, sir. I look so great because I'm wearing my lovely shirt from Hunter Duke, which I love so much. And Muda designed all the stuff on the shirt. It's me. You guys can't see it right now. Look at my beautiful shirt. I got my Lucy Bucks riding a popsicle. Oh, my head is cut off. You guys probably don't care about my head in this picture, do you? And then I got me with film strips over here, and there's another one somewhere else that I don't know where it is right now, but that's okay because it's beautiful and I love it so much. Thank you. Where was I? Number 31 is where I was. That's where we are. Oh, and also Donna G coming in. Thank you so much, Donna G, for the $20. Love that you're revisiting this. Happy 4th, Kaylee. Happy 4th of July, Donna D. Happy 4th of July, everybody. I said this in the beginning of this video, but can you guys believe that this happened a year ago, that this lawsuit happened a year ago? And also, more importantly, I did not remember at all that it happened so close to 4th of July. I feel like that's a big mile marker in most people's minds. Like, most people are like, it's a holiday weekend. I know the things that are happening. I did not remember that this happened on the 3rd of July, but it absolutely did. So who even knew? I had no idea. I had no memory. And then I was like, the reason that I remembered this is because I was looking at old documents on my phone earlier today and I saw this come up and I was like, July 3rd? Could that possibly have been the real date? And it turned out that it was. Who could have guessed it? Who could have guessed it? Not me, that's for sure. Happy 4th of July, everybody. This is an exciting way to kick off the weekend. I hope that everybody who is celebrating gets a day off tomorrow and gets to enjoy nice weather. Hopefully everybody's having nice weather wherever you are, and that all of the celebrators of the season are enjoying it. I know Canada Day was also recently. Happy Canada Day to everybody. We're all celebrating all of the stuff. We're celebrating lawsuits. We're not celebrating lawsuits. Real talk, nobody ever wants to get sued. It does not matter if a lawsuit might eventually bring good fortune your way. Getting sued sucks, and this sucks, and it sucks that Vince sued John. It sucks. I don't know if I can go so far as to say that I felt bad for John when this happened, but I don't envy anybody who is getting sued. I don't. I think it's a horrible thing, and it's stressful, and it makes you lose sleep, and it makes you lose money, and that's not what ended up happening here, but, you know, that's usually what happens. It's usually what happens. All right, number 31. Melendez claimed Mr. Mbezi contacted his employer twice attempting to terminate his employment. If true, the communication would constitute a clear breach of trust, given Melendez's previous request for legal advice from Mr. Mbezi relating to his employment with LAUSD. So what he's saying here, obviously, is if I did do that, that would have been crappy of me. However, I did not, because I am not Muttering Jay. Continues to be his point. On June 12, 2024, Melendez publicly admitted that he lied about his employment being terminated in LAUSD. Now, you guys might notice that I've been repeating myself a whole bunch because this lawsuit repeats itself a whole bunch. Why does it do that? A lot of lawsuits do this. This is because we're doing separate sections of allegations within the lawsuit. However, It's also because there's just not a lot to say in this lawsuit, because I don't think, in my opinion, I don't think that Vince ever intended to take this anywhere. He didn't plan on taking it anywhere. So now here we are bringing up the June 12th video where Melendez is admitting to the fact that he never actually got terminated from being employed. I can play that video again for you. I can play that video again for you. And then I can play that video again for you. And then I can play it again for you because the lawsuit talks about it that many dang times. I don't need to because we've literally already heard this information. That being said, I actually think that this is a very well-written complaint. Again, I am not an attorney, but to me, this does really cover the topics and it covers them in a clear and concise way. So if I saw this lawsuit and I was thinking about hiring Vince the lawyer, I might actually do it because I think that Embezi Law did a good job on this lawsuit. There's a crazy statement. Nobody expected me to say that, did they? Number 33, when Melendez claimed Mr. Embezi betrayed him, resulting in his job termination, he knew the statements were false. Now, of course, we know this because of that second video that I played. So we saw the two videos that are in question. First, Stuttering John says, Vince the lawyer is Muttering Jay, and Muttering Jay got me fired. And then second, Stuttering John says, I was never fired. You guys are dumb dummies because you didn't know that I was lying to you that whole time. It's so funny. I got you guys. I pulled one right over your heads. You didn't even know that I was lying about that. What a weird thing to lie about. What a weird thing to lie about. Why would we be doing that? Who knows? Who knows? Melendez defamed Mr. Embezi by making the above false statements on YouTube, knowing that he would injure Mr. Embezi's legal reputation in business. Usually, when we were talking about injuries within law, we are talking about monetary injuries. So that is what he is implying here. Melendez knew that accusing an attorney of communicating with a former prospective client's employer without permission with the intent to have the employment terminated would damage Mr. Embezi's legal reputation. Now, I also don't think that there was ever any intent by John to damage Vince's legal reputation. I think that he had an intent to damage Vince's YouTube reputation. I think that that might have been John's intention. But a lot of this lawsuit, Vince alleges and implies that Vince was doing this with the intent and the malice of hurting Vince's legal practice. I don't think that any of that was accurate. What I think was actually going on was that John was trying to hurt Vince's YouTube channel. And again, Vince is doing pretty good right now. I think he's getting like hundreds of thousands of views. So this did not end up hurting his YouTube channel. We can now reflect on a year later. Number 36. The defamatory statements were published to over 5,000 people and injured Mr. Embezi's legal reputation by falsely claiming that he is dishonest and betrayed a client. Okay, so I earlier guessed 5,000 people saw this. I must have remembered that from this actual complaint and then forgot that I remembered it. Again, of those 5,000 people, how many of those 5,000 people live in New York County? I would argue maybe 1,000. Of those 1,000 people, how many of them needed legal representation? Maybe 10. Of those 10 people who needed legal representation in the type of law that Vince practices, maybe 5, I think is a generous number. And then of those 5 people who would have otherwise hired Vince and then decided not to because John claimed that he was Muttering Jay. 0 is the answer to those questions. 0 is the answer. Thank you very much, Rumpled Trenchcoat, a Columbo podcast for the $5. Vince knows SJ is terrified of lawsuits, which is why he threatens to sue everyone, knowing SJ would settle for Vince being part of the show again. This is a great point, and I will be getting into the settlement of this lawsuit very, very soon. We are going to continue going through. Oh boy, there's a lot more of this lawsuit. Are you guys bored of the actual lawsuit talk? Should we move on from that? Maybe we'll move on from that. I didn't realize how long I was going to go on blathering about lawsuit, blah, blah, blahs. But let's talk a little bit more here. I'm going to put this back up on the screen because this is a great question. So Rumpled Trenchcoat makes a great point here. And this is a point that Carl and Shuli and lots of other people make all the time, which is that Stuttering John is terrified of lawsuits, which is why he threatens to sue everyone. John has this reactionary thing where he wants to scare people in the same ways that he's afraid. So if I'm afraid of the dark and I want to scare Rumpled Trenchcoat, I'm going to turn out all the lights. Even if Rumpled Trenchcoat has no fear of the dark. I don't care about that because the only way that I know how to conceptualize fear is by looking at the things that I am afraid of. That is a very big part of what is Stuttering John's kind of actions. In addition to that, Rumpled Trenchcoat here is mentioning that Stuttering John would settle for Vince being a part of the show again. I don't know that that is actually what happened with this lawsuit. I don't know the outcome of this lawsuit. And I'm going to get into all of that. We'll go through the rest of the paperwork relatively quick, and we'll get into what actually happened with this lawsuit and what we know and what we can guess and where we ended up, which again, we don't really dang know because we never find anything out for sure because everybody's so stupid and quiet about crap. What jerks. All right, let me skim through this here. We're going to continue talking about this, but I am going to skip over quite a few pages because we got a lot more to go. And as you can see, we are just kind of rehashing all of the stuff that we have done already. So we are talking again about the March 2nd, 2024 defamatory statements on X. These are going to be the statements where John says, everybody knows that Muttering Jay is Vince, thanks to Lady K and Shitware. And Vince got me fired from my job. He has cost me emotional hardship and hundreds of thousands of dollars. Again, I don't know that I believe that. Nobody should ever use Mbezi Law again because he betrays his clients. In addition to that, we are seeing all of this stuff where Vince is just repeating this information, or rather Mbezi Law, who handled this lawsuit, is just repeating this information. He falsely claimed that Mr. Mbezi was the author of the Muttering Jay post. We still don't officially know who Muttering Jay is. We still don't officially know. We don't know. I keep getting distracted by this because it's so silly. Of all of the lawsuits that we thought would actually get filed, did you ever think this would be the one? Not only that, actually, you know what? Yeah, I would think that this would be the one because this cost Vince $150 to do this. He had his own lawsuit and law firm draft up these papers, so he got that done for free. And he only had to pay the filing fees in order to get it filed with the courts. Most of the time, lawsuits are really expensive, and he didn't have to deal with that since he's already an attorney, and he was using his own legal services instead of hiring a different attorney firm. And again, I'll get into this later, but I don't think he had any intention of ever taking this anywhere. Okay. In the March 2nd defamatory statements, Melendez falsely claims Mr. Mbezi betrays his clients. Legal profession relies heavily on attorneys maintaining confidential information. Falsely claiming this means that we don't have any more trust with our clients and all of these things. This, he then says in paragraph 53, any current or prospective client can view the false claims when researching Mr. Mbezi's legal practice, which damages Mr. Mbezi's legal reputation and business. Now, we all know that's not true anymore because I'm pretty sure John has privated everything. I think that his X account is like, I think he finally unblocked everybody and you can see it again. But nobody's going back a year and going to find this stuff. Like if you search Vince Mbezi on Google, you're not finding any of Stuttering John's malarkey. Are you? Now I feel like I need to do that. Hang on. Vincent Mbezi. I got IMDb. I got Mbezi Law Group. I got Yelp. I got Mbezi Law Group. Oh, it is actually... Mbezi versus Wet Brain is Vince's payback for John. All right, so Dabblers Anonymous does come up. But that only is because of the lawsuit, not because Vince made these claims to begin with. We wouldn't have known about it if Vince hadn't filed the lawsuit, I guess. Oh my God, it's so incestual. What an incestual piece of crap. The reason that people know about the lawsuit is because Vince filed the lawsuit. So the reason that people know that John made these claims against Vince is because Vince filed the lawsuit and blah, blah, blah. Ed is correcting me here. He says, John didn't unblock people, exchanged it so you could see people's posts even when you're blocked. Ah, okay. I don't know enough about X, Twitter, to be able to say if that's accurate. But I believe you. That all sounds correct. That sounds correct to me, I think. Right? I know that people started being able to see his crap again. Melendez made statements in a written message published by X with the purpose and effect of having X repeat those statements to viewers throughout the United States, including in New York County. So again, who actually saw that? How many people? Was it 5,000 people who read that Twitter message? Did it have 5,000 views on it? I don't know. And again, how many of those people? Who could possibly know? All right, so persons in New York County other than Mr. Mbezi have viewed the March 2nd defamatory statements message and read the defamatory statements contained therein. Melendez knew that the March 2nd defamatory statements were false and acted recklessly in reckless disregard for the truth or falsity of the March 2nd defamatory statements. Nobody was reading that. All right. Now we're getting into section 5 here in paragraphs 60 through 63 on this page. This is going to be where Vince lays out the fact that Melendez lied about being terminated. He lied about being terminated. And we watched this video just a little while ago. Stuttering John laughs at all of us because we are all dumb idiots who believed him when he said that he got fired. We're so dumb dummies. Paragraph 62. On June 12, 2024, Melendez published a video on YouTube detailing how he lied about his employment at LAUSD being terminated. The following screenshot with the date and text added from the video containing his deceitful admission. How could we ever forget that Vince included this screenshot in his lawsuit filed in New York County? That is a beautiful, beautiful thing. In fact, it's so beautiful, I think that we should watch the video again, probably. Oh, I just lost my camera. Can you guys see me? Can you hear me? What happened to my camera? Can you hear and see me? You hear me, but you can't see me anymore. I don't know what the heck just happened. All right, well, I'm glad that you can hear me. I'm sorry that you don't get to look at my smiling face when I get to the exciting stuff that we're about to get to. Well, let's look at John's face. Let's look at this video again of him laughing at us about never being fired from school.
Well, prove to you once again how I'm 2 steps ahead of you. I was never fired from school.